Hey guys. I like all these different. I like this one, the sketch, but it makes you look a little evil because it does funny things with the eyes and the teeth and the tongue. But it's quite cool, like the detail of the hair, that looks quite cool. Just the eyes look funny. And the teeth. I have to keep my mouth shut. I have to keep my mouth shut. But the hair's cool, the way the hair looks. What else have we got? Silver screen. That looks quite cool. Spelia. Documentary. I like that. That's really nice colours. It's like a grey colour. And then this is normal. But I don't know what normal is. I mean, I don't think I look as pink as that in real life. So I'm not really sure what normal is. Normal is pink. Maybe I am pink. Bubbles. Dance party. That's a dance. So you see, it's when they're projecting onto you that all people that go to dance parties take drugs, so it makes the face all distorted. You see? It's a bit, instead of racist, it's a bit prejudice, you know, that all people that go to dance parties are on drugs. And then we've got dream. You see, it's like this is what it looks like in a dream. If you've never dreamed before, this is what a dream looks like. Now you know. If you have dreamed before, you might recognize it. You might be like, oh right, yes, that's what it looks like in my dream. This is glamour, so this is what glamorous people look like. If you had never seen a glamorous person, this is the glamour setting. So this makes me look glamorous. In English, I'm not sure about American or European English, or other Englishes around the world, Australia. Glamour can be associated with some sort of sex something. Like a glamour magazine would be like sex magazine, but I'm not sure if that's the same in America. America have lots of funny words that aren't the same as English. I mean, what they do to their poor pussycats is so. But anyway, in England, glamour can also mean like glamour modelling, as in like porno movies. So this is what a porno movie would look like, only to English people, because I'm sure in other Englishes they don't use glamour in that way. Just like the English people don't use pussycat in the same way Americans do. Beam. So this is what beam looks like. Seems quite similar to glamour, to be honest. Basically what it does is it just makes your skin all one colour. That's what glamour and beam are. Because if you have multiple colours of skin, so if your skin isn't just one colour, then it's considered not attractive in our society, because that's a very intelligent stance to have. Why someone invented that. Only one colour. You can be white, black, any colour, but you just got to be one colour of that. You can't be multicoloured. You can't have different colours on your face, because that's the way society stamps beauty. Beauty is you're only allowed one colour. So this is beam and glamour. It's basically just blocking out any different colours on your face. 8mm, 8. I don't know why they do that. I presume it's based on old films. They kind of make you look yellow and a little bit jaundice. And then they sort of put black dots. So 8mm is a little yellow. Then we've got dawn. Well, dawn kind of is a cross between 8mm, 8mm and glamour and beam. Dawn is kind of all of those incorporated. Now documentary I think is, documentary seems to be almost grey now. It was a different colour earlier. Maybe it's struggling with all my flicking. Everything seems to be grey. Is that my eyes? So it's a grey haunt. Again, that does funny things with the teeth. Isn't that funny that that's considered so ugly to not have white teeth? To have black teeth is very ugly. I suppose because it's associated with death and rotting. Or drinking too much Coca-Cola, which we know is quite a horror movie. If any of you have ever drunk too much Coca-Cola in one sitting. Yeah, not good. Is it Khaleesi? Huh? 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 Me and Khaleesi are now back in the south of France, so Khaleesi's not abandoning me like she does at my parents' house. At my parents' house, she's just always with my mother or in the garden. Because my mother is a meat eater and she likes to play it safe and stick with the meat eaters. Well, my mother's, she only eats fish and chicken, but it's better than what I eat to Khaleesi. She's like, screw you, I'm off. I've just been binging on tomatoes again today. It happens when I come back to the south of France, the market is on. Oh my goodness, they're tomatoes. And you can binge on tomatoes. Basically what you do is you get a tomato, you get a bowl with olive oil, pepper and salt in it, and then you just basically dunk the tomato in it and eat. But the tomato has to have been grown locally. That's the trick to it. And in the south of France. So we're back to some bubbles. And dance party. And dream. Glamour girl. Moving the eye without moving any other muscles. I can't do it at this eye, but I can do it at this eye, and I can also raise that eyebrow. It's funny. Funny. And beam, you have to guess in a minute. I'm going to play musical effects, and you have to see which one it is. I'll put on a bit of music, but then I'll get banned from every other country. I will make some music, and you have to guess which one it is. That's easy. It's kind of fun how the black is white. Hair looks kind of cool. Look at that, the roots are really white and then the ends are black. It's just basically inverted. Yeah. That's quite a cool one. Okay, and we're back to normal. I hope you can hear me. Okay, but we're not going to go into that. I'm sure you can. Oof. I'll just check that you can hear me. Everyone's like, he can't hear you, Lisa. Okay, so, yep, everyone can hear me. So, hey Harley, hey Jason, hey Julie, hey Lil, Raphael, Keith, Julie, Erica. Hey guys. I hope that doesn't bug this jumper. Doesn't bug my microphone. Just let me know, guys, it's the sound issues, but I think it's going to be pretty rocking tonight. Oh. Yeah, I can't listen to the sound. If I try to listen, it goes funny. concerned about my little speaker getting irritated by the jumper. Let's put it there. I feel like I can see so clearly how... Oh, I haven't done all the welcome speech and everything. Like, welcome to live stream. You can speak to me like this. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you've heard it before. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The important stuff. I forgot what I was saying now. Oh, yeah. I feel like I can see so clearly how the thought structures are created, the feelings are created, and then this person claims that to be someone. And the thought structures and the feelings change as you get into this subject. You get reconditioned, but they're just thought structures, just feelings. But then this person says, that's who I am. I'm those thought structures, I'm those feelings, I'm my life, I'm what I tell myself, I'm what I believe. And then it's like those thought structures get exaggerated by that claiming that that is you. And they go into hiding. So you form a thought structure. So thought structure around something is formed, and then the personal energy claims that and is ashamed of it, doesn't like it, so it hides that. It pushes it down and is only acting from that thought structure unconsciously. So say if it's a jealous child, say it's like the first child that's born out of like 3 other children. So it's the oldest. And I always think that oldest children are the ones that seem the most jealous. Sorry. The younger kids have kind of surrendered a lot more to his or her toys because the older sibling is stronger and more powerful and can take the toys a lot easier. And the older sibling was there before the younger sibling. So I just feel like they have more jealousy. So say you have jealousy that forms, this thought and feeling structure around jealousy forms. And then your mum or dad keep telling you off for that thought structure. And that person's claimed the jealousy, and then the thought structure tries to push away the jealousy and tell itself something else because it sees it doesn't get pleasure, from feeling jealousy or experiencing jealousy. So it pushes the jealousy down, even though it has those feelings, and then it comes up with a new story of not being jealous or always giving away its stuff or whatever it is. And this entity is claiming all that. And then you kind of get this entity that's jealous, but doesn't want to admit it. So on the surface, it looks like it's generous and giving. And then you've got this person that believes that's them. So it's like always trying to be that and is really identified with that nice person or that good person. So the thought structure is always telling the story and repeating when it's nice and when it's good. So its world is all about goodness and being good and not being jealous and sharing and giving and not saying mine too much, but underneath it wants to. So it kind of gets into disharmony. And we've all met those people that like come across as if they're really generous, but then and always telling you how generous they are, and then when it comes down to it, they're not really that generous, and in fact they're really very stingy and tight. But you've got the separate entity that wants to be this giving, loving person. So it's only picking up when it's giving and loving. So it really believes it's giving and loving, and it's totally unconscious of the jealousy that's underneath or the discomfort that's underneath. It can feel its body's in disharmony and it does weird things, and it about others being stingy. Sorry guys, just one sec. Hey, hopefully that's fixed it. So on the surface level, it's picking up that it's always generous and it's always giving, and then it's telling that other people aren't giving and aren't generous. So it's built up this dilemma, and it's always seeing people that are stingy and not jealous and always not generous, and then always seeing itself as giving and generous. So that's what it believes to be true, and then this identity is formed out of that. Like that can become a key characteristic of that separate entity. And actually, that two-layer structure where underneath you're deeply jealous and want everything to be yours, and then on the surface you're always very giving, that most probably actually could still be there after awakening. But it's just there'll be no energy in it, and you won't be repeating the story of who you are all the time. It's just that drama might be played out. But there's a good chance that when awakening, you'll see through that illusion of the generosity. And Skype on my iPad, when someone rings, sorry, I don't understand. The reason it keeps cutting out is because somebody's ringing me on Skype, and then I've closed Skype on the iPad, but it comes back on. Someone just said, would you ever shave your head? It's the latest trend. I've been there, done that. I'm the trend maker. I looked terrible. People thought I was a Nazi, or had cancer, or a lesbian. And I just didn't look good. You know, some people have a good shaped head, so when they shave all their hair off, it's a nice shape. Mine was really not a nice shape. It had lots of bumps and cracks, and I did not look like Sinead O'Connor. I looked terrible. And if I tried to wear makeup, I looked like a transvestite. A dress was a disaster. I just had to wear trousers and shirt. It just didn't do good. But I did it twice. I liked it. It was a nice feeling. It was very nice. Terrible growing back. So sorry if it keeps cutting out. I should now. I've just killed Skype. I thought just by shutting it, because I had this problem last time, it would stop it, but nope. You need to kill it. You need to kill the Skype. So yeah, I was saying about the structures. So what happened with me while awakening was there's a lot of examination of these structures, and there was just becoming more myself, so more what I was like when I was a child. But I'm still sure there's still structures in play that I'm not aware of. It's like infinite structures that you push away some things because that's what you've been trained, and you think certain things. But I don't believe anything's true anymore, so I don't believe any thought or feeling's true. Whereas people that are telling themselves they're always generous and other people are stingy, they really believe that's a reality. And they're not open to the idea that it might not be true, and they're really attached to that. It's so important for them because in being generous, they believe freedom is in that. So therefore it becomes really important, because when you're separate, everything, all pleasures are about either freedom or not freedom. So they just become really exaggerated. And there's just too much importance in everything. When it's not freedom, it's like brings up fear akin with death. When you believe it is freedom, it's like falling in love with something. It's like this polarity that we're always struggling between. But they're not true. They're not true. So I can have structures that come up, but there's no energy that believes there'll be any freedom in them. Oh, I see that we've got preachers on the chat. Everyone wants to be the teacher, either the teacher or the child. They want to be teaching other people, or they want to be the child that's taught. Please teach me and let me follow you, or I am the teacher, follow me. These are the games the mind likes to play. You can see there's an argument about something to do with that. Oh, this is right, I'm right. No, she is right, he is right, we are right. But who is all these people you're arguing with but yourself? It's all yourself. There is no definition of what you are. You are everything that's happening. So the person you are arguing with is your own mind. No, it's somebody out there, only apparently in the world. Apparently, ultimately it's all you. Where do you ever, in your experience, where do you ever find outside of you? Even that arguing or those words are inside of you. They are you. All of it's you. There's never outside of you. When do you ever experience outside of your experience? But yet you're so convinced there's an outside of your experience that you're walking through a world and that there is this place that exists where you are not. But yet all you ever experience is your own experience. You never experience this place that's outside of you. You watch it on TV, but you don't realise that TV is appearing inside you. It isn't outside of you. There is never outside of you. Dong, dong, dong! Crap! But what about all those people I don't like? What about all those people I like and I want? It's you! Can you ever long outside of yourself? So if you imagine someone wonderful that you really want to have to yourself, all to yourself, they're appearing in you. You're not actually experiencing outside of you. When do you experience outside of you? The mind can imagine difference and outside, but that's it. That's it. But it's your own imagining. So you have this thing that you really want and you really love, but it's your own feelings of love. You're only imagining your own feelings. You can't imagine outside of your own feelings. So that love that you long for, that you believe is outside of you, is actually your own love. Isn't that fantastic? I could be a preacher on a stage in a church. He's like that. Like ba 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 ba. And everyone's like, praise the Lord. Except there is no Lord to praise. So at that moment we'd have to be like, praise myself, praise myself, praise myself. But then that would be a massive crash of Western identity that's always like, I'm a terrible person, I'm a bad person, that's why I have to buy all these things and pretend I'm lots of things that I'm not. So one person just said, why is it so important that I see the longing is inside of me? Because the love and hate will still arise. No, it's so completely different when there is that energetic shift. I do not hate people anymore. I can get annoyed and irritated by humans. Humans are irritating sometimes, but I don't hate anyone. How can you hate anyone when you see it's all yourself? But I have the responses of being human, but then it just goes. When I was identified, I hated because I really believed that I was better than other people, that they were worse than me or more stupid than me or less capable than me or doing stuff to me. But then you begin to see it's all just one dance. And in the moment you can get annoyed and angry because people can be assholes sometimes and life can be an asshole sometimes. But then there's this deep knowing that it's all just one dance. And there's no biggie. There's no biggie. Even with the things that seem like they're a biggie, they're not a biggie. They're not big or littly, actually. They're just seen as happening. Underneath there's this energy just is collapsing into presence, so just the complicated stories and ideas that used to come up just don't come up. You know, moments of feeling like a past life, moments of feeling these things or thinking these things like a ethereal whisper, but it's nothing anymore. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The only important thing is what's happening. That's what's important. What's happening is love. This is love expressing itself. A lot of people think that what I'm talking about is intellectual and an intellectual recognition of oneness, and it's not. It's an energetic movement back to presence. Then the character still's the character. Lisa can be beautiful. She can be a bit of a wally. She can get angry. She can be happy. She can think people do bad things, but there's no belief in it. She can say people do bad things, but there's no belief in it. It's just energy flowing. She can get annoyed with people when they do shitty things, but that's just what they do. And they also do beautiful things, because with one comes the other. And nobody's a definition of anything. I remember when I realised that when I was, younger. When I was young, like 6 years old. I remember realising that my dad wasn't any particular thing. I was just joking when I said I was 6 years old. I was just saying that just as a joke because it's funny that I would have realised it at 6 years old, and then I'm bragging to everyone like, at 6 years old, I realised. Yeah. I know sometimes you have to clarify that because otherwise then you get quoted when you're really telling a joke. But I remember when I was 6 years old, not when I was 6 years old. I remember when I was younger, the realisation that my dad wasn't a fixed person. That he was multiple different beings. That it wasn't even multiple different beings, he just changed. And with one person he could be one way, and with another person he could be another way, and there wasn't this real him. You know how people say that you wait till the shit hits the fan and then the real person comes out, like the real evil person comes out. There is no real person that comes out. There's conditioned behaviours, and sometimes when the shit hits the fan, then there can be like difficult energies that come out, but that's not who they are. There isn't a fixed entity. So if somebody's in a family where they're unhappy, or in a situation when they're unhappy, their unhappy side might come out, but that's not who they are. like on the personal level, I mean, it's not who they are. Ultimately, who they are is life, is this boundless energy. But on the personal level, the human is always changing. The separate self wants to always claim it. This is what I am. This is what they are, and make it something solid. But they're not. You put someone in a different situation, and yes, they'll have the same patterns, but they're always changing dependent on what they're in relationship with, because there is no fixed self. If you watch me regularly, I'm such a different personality lots of the time. Not because I have multiple personalities, but, or maybe I do, I just don't know. But because there's just different energies running through the body, and you're in contact with different people, different energies pop up. Haven't you noticed that when you're around some people you're a certain way and other people you're a certain way? I feel like an empty vessel that's just responding to whatever's happening. There's a response, and that response is always different. I think when the self is really strongly there and present, it's always trying to make you into something. So it's trying to hold on to a behavior that you've liked of yourself in the past, or been in the past. And I think as you become more and more sensitive, and especially if you're an empathy personality, which is what I am, then you become more sensitive to the energies that are in front of you. I sometimes feel like I can pick up on people's thoughts and feelings, but at the same time, they're not outside of me, so I don't like to say that too much or claim that too much, because how is that not you? We want it to be other because we want to be different or better than the other. But if someone in front of you is experiencing insecurity and you pick up on their feeling, it's as much your feeling as their feeling. Like, whose feeling is it, ultimately? When we're talking about it, we could say, okay, that's Shirley's feeling. But for me, it's like I'm always different dependent on what I'm interacting with. And I feel so sensitive to whatever I'm interacting with, so present and sensitive to it. It's like the wind. It's like, what would the wind be without everything else? What would the tree be without everything else? What would the sky be without everything else? It can't exist. The sky is the particular colour it is because of everything else. Because of this gas and that gas and this reflection. The same with the tree. We need everything. And the wind. The wind blows and then it changes its force and its direction depending on what it comes in contact with. And although these bodies have particular structures, as you become less identified with those structures, then yeah, there's going to be a pattern. I'm always going to look and kind of act within Lisa's pattern, but there's a freedom to really freely interact with whatever you're meeting without judgment, just in innocence. I often can't tell if somebody's having resistance to me, if it's me or them. Like, so say if someone comes to my talk and there's resistance, it just manifests as a feeling of a barrier that's happening between us. What I then do is I use that and then I point that out, and normally the other person says they feel it too. And who cares who it comes from? You want to find out who it comes from so you can blame the other, so you can judge the other, so you can be better than the other, just because that's the nature of these silly skin forms that we're in. It's good to be able to define it, so to say, are you experiencing resistance? And then they say yes, and then we can define it a bit better, but it feels like resistance in me. There's nothing outside of me. It's all happening in my one energy. But that doesn't make me better than anyone. That doesn't make me any more enlightened with anyone. It makes me exactly the same as everyone else, as vulnerable to this as everybody else. So that's not much fun for you guys to look up to. When you want to be better than someone else, when you want to be more than someone else, then you want a spiritual teacher that says, yes, I'm enlightened and I only ever feel this and I am like that. And then you have something to aspire to. You You have something to judge other people to. Always judging. It's funny, when I'm in, most of the time when I'm out in public, I have to muzzle Khaleesi because I'm not quick enough to, I have very good control over her, but if another dog jumps on her or another dog comes out of nowhere, if I drop her lead or something, then she doesn't always, but she can bite other dogs. And because I live in quite a small town, like I'm always in contact with other dogs. But she looks immaculately behaved, so it's shocking for people because she looks very well behaved when she's on the lead. Not all the time, sometimes she can look a bit naughty. And then also it looks I kind of look badass. I walk along this dog with a muzzle on and I kind of look like I'm a real badass. Like I clear the pavement, I'm walking along and I see people clear my way. And because she kind of looks like a wolf, people are already like overwhelmed by what she looks like. But I can feel their judgments, but it's not their judgments, it's both our judgments. It's like as much my judgment as their judgment. You gotta have a really flexible mind to hear what I'm saying. Because there is no self. Whose judgment would it be? And when you become so sensitive, you can feel and hear other people as if they're yourself. But they're not other people, they are yourself. But I tend to name it as mine. So I can often name it and express it as if it's mine to the other person. Because it is mine, but just not mine as Lisa's. I mean, what is Lisa? But I kind of know that that's what they're thinking and feeling too. But it's not my job to tell them that. But I'm sure it might be a little funky for them if I say this or that. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is presence. And then life takes care of itself. And it might be a personality thing that I'm so sensitive to other people. And I'm still learning it and understanding it, the sensitivity to others or to myself. It really doesn't matter what I say. I could be saying rhubarb. It doesn't matter. I just sit here and talk, and then you either resonate or you don't.
Hello, Easy. Hello. Do you want to come and give Lisa a cuddle? On your belly, sweetie. You want to come and give me a cuddle? Yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty. No. She does not want to cuddle Lisa. Okay, so we take some questions. I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is how you have to live life, is just ba 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 ba. No mind. Ba 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 ba. You get so flexible that the mind just holds on to nothing. Ba 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 ba. Hey Lisa. This is from Raphael. The sound is crystal clear good. When you feel others or your feelings on the street, as you said, together with the sense of self-importance or the sense of self not wanting to feel certain feelings, I tend to want to correct or harmonize my feelings in those situations, making the street a different place to be. Did you experience this? No. I don't remember talking about the sense of self-importance. I'm not wanting. It's funny what is said and what is heard, but no, I don't have the feeling of wanting to harmonise it. It is as it is. I know that I don't really like spending too much time around humans, or most humans. I prefer to be with a select few. And then that changes, it depends on the mood of the person. It's just a feeling sort of thing. The heart feels, the body feels in that situation. Hey, Easy. Do you want to come and have a cuddle? You want to come and have a cuddle? Where's your puppy go? She had very nice food today. Today is Sunday market day, so we buy a chicken and we cook a chicken and then we make it for her meals. And she's very excited by this when the chicken is bought. And then it roasts in the oven and you keep seeing her just staring at the oven like, very cute. Okay. Resonating with the rhubarb. Yeah. Hi Lisa, I'm calling from Connecticut, USA with a question. How does one become empty of personality? I am dedicated to becoming no one, nothing, but notice I'm still caught in the mind, longing for... Also, can I call now? I have your new book and love what you describe. My heart longs this film to be what I am. I appreciate your... Yes, you can call. She gave up now. Yeah, so okay guys, so if you don't know, if you're new, basically the way I do it is I normally do like an hour introduction, or I just talk and talk and talk, or I sit there in silence until I'm done, and then I take questions, but then I get lots of different questions, so I tend to just select a few. I don't always answer anyone. But yours just came up, Sandra, to answer, but I think you're finished. You've gone now. This is from Dominic. Hello, Lisa. 2 days ago, I came home from a meditation retreat and somehow this life feels to me like a dream now. Can you talk about the difference between our lives and a dream? It seems to me that there are no differences. Yeah, there is no difference. A dream is just imagining and your life is imagining. Your family, everything. All there is right now is listening to me speak and this computer, and all of that isn't a thing. In the instant of it, it's a total mystery. It's so innocent and fresh. And then the brain is producing imaginings of past and future, and it makes it feel that you exist in that past and future. Whereas actually you only exist right now as presence. And that imagining of your past and future is just like a dream at night. It's not real. So I think that often comes up when people are awakening as feeling like it's a dream or not real. It's exciting. Nice. Hi. Mahima, can you please add me? I live in Singapore and it's 12:30 p.m. here. I need to go to bed in a while, but I'd really like to talk to you for 5 minutes. If you're still here, Mahima, you're very welcome to call now. Hey Jamil, do you think labeling the things that happen as form, appearances, thoughts, deception? Because nothing is that. It's all one happening feeling. I think that while you're separate, something that the separate person can do, even though ultimately that separate person isn't doing anything, this is a description of a happening, not a prescription. But while that person feels separate, is it can just recognize that something's not true. So if you're really lost in thoughts and feelings, like you believe that somebody's really done something to you and really violated you, there can just be this recognition that it's not true. Like there can be a thought that comes in and says, this isn't true. And then through that thought coming in, there can be an exploration of what's happening. So you can then go down into the feelings and see that the feelings aren't true, that you're feeling anger, and underneath that anger, say, there's vulnerability or fear. It normally comes in two categories, a feeling of lack of love or a fear of death. So you can see that maybe there's the fear of death underneath or something. So just acknowledge everything that's happening. And by that acknowledgement, what happens through time is that the separate self has less energy going into itself. And as that happens, as you just see that that's not true, then there is this instant dropping into presence. It just sort of clears the way. It might not feel like you're dropping into presence because you've still got a bad feeling from that, but feelings aren't freedom. So that bad feeling isn't the freedom, so you just have to trust me in saying that that sort of breaks you out into that alive presence. It's just for a moment there's not such a caught up in this dream, in this reality. Okay, I'll move on. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just open the mouth and the mouth talks. But I don't mean to say that as in like other speakers do know what they're talking about and I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean it as in I'm not here. I'm just like an empty vessel that's like ba, 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 ba. You project that I'm sitting here thinking about what I'm saying and that I'm somebody saying something. Hey Lisa, I came back from a 2-year break from school. How old are you? I'm sorry if you're below 18, I can't speak to you. Two-year break from school. It doesn't say your name, your age. Send money. You can send money now on Skype. That's cool. Okay. So I'm not sure how old you are. Hopefully you're above the age of 18. And I came back from a 2-year break from school. I think you guys call university school as well. We hope. In England, we call school is just what you're at when you're young. You're very young, up to the age of 16. I have been going there for about 3 weeks now. I was bullied and outcast. Okay, yeah. I think I'm 21. Okay, you're 21. Okay. Okay. He is 21 or... Yeah. I was bullied and outcast in school because I was weird and because of my sexuality. Since I started going to school again, not the same school, and there has been a lot of fear coming up. It seems like the fear has been about not being good enough and feeling like I have to act so that people won't see me as weird or something like that. I also tend to fall back to sleep and see myself as a separate individual when I'm at school. I also see a lot of traumatized people at my school and I feel obliged to help them. Do you have anything to say about this? I'm getting back into therapy in 2 days, so don't have to worry about saying anything that might seem inappropriate. Oh, okay. I think that you have to recognize, firstly, that our education system and our society is all about being a separate person. So in that education system, you're being taught to be separate. Unless you have really free-thinking teachers, or you're studying art maybe or something, that most of those education systems are about separation, living in a society that's about production and producing and constantly growing economy, and an economy that can't keep growing. We can't keep growing our economy. Every economy is battling to grow, but we can't keep growing it. But we live in this society that believes in that everything is about growth. And a society that's based on competition. So no wonder you're feeling that going back into school and education. It's not just you. You think that you're just somebody inside the body and you're not affected by the outside, that you're something that stops here. But all these separate people are a reflection of our society. Like, there is no separate people. Humans are information which is passed on. You don't begin at your birth and end at your death. Your cells go back all the way to the Big Bang, to the dinosaurs, the Ice Age, to the amoebas that originally begun. You have the information of the whole entire life, and at this moment you're looking through a human that is conditioned in a particular society, and that particular society is heavily, heavily asleep and deeply identified. Truthfully, people are judging you there. It's all about judgment. If you're going to a mainstream school or university or college or whatever you guys call it, they are judging you. It's all about judgment. It's all about appearance. It's all about being better than your peer. So you've got to be realistic about what you're going into. You're going to feel that as you walk down the corridors because other people are thinking it and feeling it. I'm sorry to be so harsh. They're not thinking most probably what you think. But maybe you pick up on some of their thoughts, who knows? But yeah, if you are slightly different, you will be weird, you will be an outcast. I was. I am. I just look like I fit in because of my looks, and then people begin to get to know me, and then they're like, she's weird. Every boyfriend I've ever had has always said, yeah, she's wonderful, a little bit weird though. I'm totally weird. At school I was always called weird, but because I have a pretty face, I always get away with it. Sorry. Let's just be honest about the prejudice of our society. It's all right to be pretty woman and weird. You can get away with that. It's like, oh, she's quirky. But we can still have sex with her, so it's okay. So therefore she's accepted. Because again, let's admit that it's a masculine society. So that's what's important about a woman. People are going to be like, Lisa, no, don't say all this negative stuff. But I also got bullied. The girls at school used to call me a bitch and bark at me like I was a dog. And I was kind of, because I love dogs so much, and yeah, I just used to not be sure how that was an insult, but at the same time they meant it as an insult, like woof woof, and I'd be like, yes. And so I used to go moo back to them. These were the very pretty, popular girls. Who eventually became our friends. Yeah. But we were kind of in conflict because we were like nerds that the boys still liked. So Martin, if that's the choice you've made to go into that system, that's part of the price of it. It's not a bad price of it. We've all got to make our money and educate ourselves into a career in this society if we want to be part of it. And it's wise to go to education because you can go in at a higher paid job. But all of it's crazy. I think our society is so insane. Like, I think it's so unfair that a doctor gets paid more than somebody that cleans the street. This argument that, they've trained more, so therefore they deserve a better job, is so insane. It's so insane. Rewarding someone for training in a job with better money to encourage them to do that job. Whereas really, we should always be educating people to work in a job they love. Not about the money. It's crazy. It's so totally unfair. It's a reflection of our identified society. Totally identified society. And it's so crazy that some people have financial privilege over other people. And it's crazy that some people aren't welcome, that some people are left to really starve. This is just a reflection of the ego mind. This is what the ego mind does. You can see it in the human thinking as well. Being better than someone else, wanting to be better than someone else, wanting to dominate someone else, wanting to have more than someone else, enjoying something because other people don't have it and you're privileged enough to have it. It's this identification with freedom comes in things. This crazy idea that freedom comes in things, and we're not taught in society that freedom actually comes from what you're doing, from the presence of what you're doing, the intimacy of what you're doing. It's found in opening the door. It's found on walking, like the feeling of the feet walking. It's found on doing the gardening or eating your dinner. It's not found in this future thing that you're going to get to. Well, you believe it's found in this future thing, then there's going to be this crazy hierarchy in society that judge each other, that put each other down, that bully each other. when you really remember who you are and see that you're not separate from anything, then you're not going to have this urge to bully people. Sure, you're going to instantly lose your temper. So if somebody's like doing something and you'll lose your temper, like that's part of being human, but not this sustained bullying, this sustained judgment, this sustained belief that you're better than someone else. I do not believe I'm better than someone else. In fact, it's so much the opposite that I claim other people's thoughts or feelings to be my own because I don't see any difference. If somebody's out there yelling, it's my own yelling. It's total humility, not total victimhood. That's something that I notice that people come and then they become a victim to other people all the time. It's my anger, and they're really saying it's my anger, like other people's anger, because they're feeling victim to it. It's a sense of love and compassion and expansion. But you've got to be realistic about the games you're playing. You're playing an identified society. And that's okay. So realize that you've made, on the human level, not really that you've made a choice, but there has been a choice to stay in this society. And in this society, when you go into it, you're playing in an identified society. You're not going to force this change onto society. It will be a gradual change to this awakened society. So you think that the job you'll do, you're going to someday meet people or work in an environment where they're not identified or they don't judge you, but while you're mixing with identified people, that's what it's going to be. And also know when you're getting on the career the career dance, like it's not. I think it's good these things are addressed and looked at, and you're not laying at home and doing nothing. I think that laying at home and doing nothing is not what I'm talking about at all. And we're humans like to do things. We like to be out there doing things, and just like the squirrel likes to be out collecting nuts, we do our things. We like to think and explore, and laying on your bed all the time isn't it either. But just recognize that when you get on the career ladder, you keep thinking that one day you're going to arrive there and you're going to have enough money and you can just rest. And that day will never come. It's not about end destination. It's about what's happening. We keep trying to get to the future. We keep trying to get somewhere else, and you're never going to arrive there. Freedom is what is. Even if it's walking down the corridor and feeling those sensations of being judged, just feel them. Feel them for what they are. Pro gamer. Lisa Cairns with love. Brackets. I point that out just because I'm a little bit. I can go through spouts of enjoying playing computer games. I'm just going through a spout of that at the moment. And then I stop it and then I get into it again. I like really simple games, not really complicated games. Don't feed the gamer. Don't feed the birds. I can't see all your messages. I can just see bits of messages coming and going. I don't like I like things like just simple games. I can only think of Tetris at the moment. Although, yeah. Okay, I really like Pac-Man. Okay, I can be really addicted to Pac-Man. Okay, now it's out. I like Pac-Man. Don't you notice that I use Pac-Man as an example a lot? But I go through phases because there's only an amount you can play of going around the stupid screen and getting the little balls. And I often play the games when I'm travelling. I sometimes get so addicted to them though, I play them when I'm at home as well. But I go through phases of it. Pac-Man. But I have to say I did something really cool last week when I was in Berlin. So I played a 3D virtual game. It was so cool. It was cool. It was called Exit. And it was a really cool game. You put on these not 3D, it was a virtual game. You put on this head mask, you like go to the center for it, and you get put in your own room, and then you're playing with someone else and they get put in another room, and you've got your backpack on and you've got your glasses on. It's amazing. It's like you step into another world. It was puzzle games. I quite like puzzle games a little bit, but not that much. But it was a puzzle and it was really fun. It was so fun. It was so amazing being in this other world with the person. Really cool. And it's amazing what the brain does, because like at one point I went in a lift and you're not actually moving in this lift, but you look around and it feels like it looks like you're moving in the lift. So then the body and the brain feels like it's moving in the lift. It's amazing. So if anyone could do it, it's called Exit VR in Berlin, but I'm sure you can look it up in every city that they have these virtual games. But we took two other friends. And it was so funny because the two other friends aren't really into games, so especially puzzle games, so I don't think they particularly enjoyed it. That was funny. Yeah, okay, that's not funny to everyone else, but to me, it was. Okay, let's see more questions. There's lots of people online now asking questions. Moody must have stopped his satsang. I know. I often get dumped for Moody, and when he finishes, then you come and watch me. Hey, Laurie, you disappeared from Facebook. I love Pac-Man and have since I was a teenager, probably before you were born. But I'm addicted to Moonlight Mahjong. I play it with the sound off and listen to you or whoever. I do that as well. If I'm watching TV, I play a game simultaneously. It's an app on the Mac. Oh, okay. I'll look up. There's lots of games I like playing though. I really like Dog Pairs as well. I play that as well on my phone. Hey Lisa, got listened to your YouTube live broadcaster for a long time. You seem to be having a go at the capitalism today. For sure I am. It's just a big ego. I can resonate with what you say, but the question I have for you is on a different theme. Is there a world that is independent of any living thing experience? For example, an X-ray seems to capture something that no one has direct experience of. I thought everything was made of knowing. That's a very wise question, SK57, that Susif. That's a very wise question, but it's also incredibly not wise. You're not being creative enough with your mind. So it seems like that's a really wise question. Okay, so you could put a camera on and you can film a room where nobody is looking, and then when you later look at the camera you can see that room. Actually, everything is made of mystery, not knowing. Knowing is the first thing that comes into existence when this plays out, and then there's the I am, and then there's everything else. But actually the source is an absolute mystery. It's even beyond knowing. But we can go with knowing because that's what everyone typically talks about. I don't mind. I'm not attached to any words. It doesn't matter. We made up words, and then we're trying to talk about something in a language that we made up. And we can't actually talk about that in our language, the oneness in our language. So it's just, you just got to be flexible with the mind and see that it didn't exist until you looked at it. The inside of the body didn't exist until you looked at it. Nothing exists until it's inside consciousness. Have you ever experienced outside of consciousness? Have you ever experienced something not being conscious? The answer is actually in your experience, not in your intellect. And that question totally comes from the intellect. So you think, there is inside someone's body, there is an X-ray that exists when I'm not looking at it. But what's your actual experience? Find the answer in your actual experience. And your actual experience is there is only ever consciousness, and there is not outside, and you've never been proved an outside of consciousness. The only proof you've ever had is of consciousness, of this one alive presence that doesn't have an inside or outside world. So the question is, can you prove that there is an outside to consciousness? There is an outside to this alive presence. Thank you for your questions, but it correlates well with what you find if you operate on that person. Yeah. And if you have a metal detecting machine and you're running along the floor and it beeps, then you can dig and you can find that. But why wouldn't it? I think that you need to ask yourself more, Sue Sith, because I know that you've been listening to the subject for quite a long time. You need to ask yourself, you need to go along the investigation of why is your mind trying to create all these defenses against oneness? Why is it trying to doubt it? Like, what's the resistance in your mind to it? And feel it. Find it in your feelings. It's most probably because you just don't want love. You don't want to let the love in. It came up when I was talking about the subject with others. I had my first meeting yesterday. It went so well. And yes, I went off Facebook except Messenger. I still send and receive messages, but I have no desire to go back on Facebook. as of now. You can do that. You can be on Messenger but not Facebook. I always have to keep a Facebook account for my pages. Okay, guys, we got troll on the Facebook, thanks, Julie, for letting me know. We got troll, so I'm going to have to turn off chat if I can. No, it is a shame. I don't know how to turn off chat on the iPad. Okay, show live chat messages, hide chat. No, I don't want to do that. I want to block chat. Okay, you can't block it on the iPad. Damn it. Okay, troll away, guys. Well, that's crazy. Maybe this blocks it. Thanks, Julie, for telling me. And if you find the person that was trolling on the chat, if you could just register it for me, because I can't do it here on my... If you could just register it and I'll block them from everything in future once I get off. We block, block, block. Hey Lisa, do you still keep your habits and from new habits since you realised you weren't what you thought you were? There is still habits with this body-mind mechanism, but they've softened a lot and changed a lot, and I feel like over time they get more and more in line with that realisation. But I don't think there's an end point to that because it's always getting reconditioned from everything. But on the human level, I'm certainly not enlightened. But there's a lot of things that change, like it doesn't get so stuck in things, and it's way more aware of itself and the unconscious. And it's softened and it's not like it was. And it's really honest and open, but at the same time I still get tripped up into certain habits. Certain feelings come up with certain behaviours of others and from childhood. But they just appear and disappear. They're not taken to be truth anymore. And I do feel like they are changing. But at the same time, what's the goal? Like, what do you want all your feelings or responses to be like? Because your responses have to be a particular way. You have to have a response to stuff. It just doesn't belong to anyone. And you lose the desire to hope for this perfect human being, because the hope for this perfect human being was always about avoiding the present moment. And you kind of settle into the human being as it is. And I have every time for experience. I can argue with people or get on with people. I tend to not argue that much with people because I'm quite a passive character, so I don't get into too many conflict situations, but I also can get into conflict situations. I can get annoyed with people. Who knows what's whose and whose feelings. I'm just trying to think of examples, but then it's failing me. Living by myself is way easier. You have way less conflict situations when you live alone. When you live with someone, you've got more, but... Hey, Paula. Oh, that's nice, Andrea. Thanks for your message. Yes, you can totally be on Messenger while deactivating from Facebook. I didn't know that. I enjoy listening to your sincere talks. Oh, thanks, Susith. Dear Lisa, a question. I can see and feel like right now how all the stuff appears. Energy vibrates in me strongly. Thoughts, feelings, all that stuff. And I feel how I am not it. But at the same time, there is this guy. I can feel how all that stuff in me appears. Guy, and he's also imaginary. But it feels so real. And there is so much useless suffering. And even if I feel it's useless, it still hurts. Can I call? Sure, Alexander, call away. I'm just listening, not trying to do anything with what you say. Am I too relaxed? Well. Hey, Alexandra. Hey, hang on a sec, just let me put you on speakerphone. There you go.
Okay, wait. Hey, hang on a sec. There you go.
I think you're going to have to put your headphones in because it's I've got feedback.
I think you're going to have to put your headphones in because it's
Or you turn off the audio from the live stream. One or the other.
Or you turn yes. I managed it.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's actually the first time I tuned into it.
It's the first time we've spoken? Or the first time you've tuned in?
The first time we've spoken and the first time we tuned into.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome. It's a little bit out of time. My speaking now won't be in line with me on live stream.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a little behind.
Okay, got it. I just deactivated the YouTube channel. And now I can hear you, right?
Yeah, you can hear me here.
Yes. Well, so basically there is this thing that there is this continuous switching off and on, and for switching off, I mean like just basically like feel that the vibration comes from outside and goes inside.
Yeah.
And somehow these things come, this turns off and on. They come like when there is kind of an acute suffering, like acute anxiety for some stuff which might seem unrelated, but then it's like there's this like feelings coming up with like I can't go like this anymore, and then somehow it goes away. It's almost like it goes in cycles, and it's funny because I it's not like I just believe in the fact that yes, it's I feel the pain, that it's the anxiety, pain, and so on, and I know it's not real, but at the same time the vibration is so real, and you like immediately you get identified with this stuff, and you feel totally lost until you're not lost again. And it's just it's kind of it's actually pretty funny sometimes in the offs or ons, but it always finds the way to touch you kind of somewhere.
Yeah. One thing that can be a really good practice for a while, even though ultimately that it's not you that's going to arrive home because you don't exist, but while you feel like you're there, one thing that you can do is you could look at what you want in every moment. So right now in this conversation, what is it that you want out of this conversation? What feeling is it that you would like from speaking with me? We never do this because it's almost like as a separate entity, we always have to hide ourselves. We always have to be in pretending of what we are, and we kind of play this unconscious game that's trying to manipulate others into seeing us in a particular way. Like we want to be seen as somebody that's helpless or somebody that's helpful or somebody that likes things or doesn't like things. So what in this moment would you like from this conversation? Like it just makes the mind a lot more simpler, like understanding what you're doing.
Yes. Well, I mean, the first answer is peace.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I mean,
So
there's also
that's
this
really
anxiety for making the question at the same time, because when to say all that stuff, it's kind of like, it's almost like there is a breach somewhere, like from my mouth, like went out a breach and went somewhere far away, and now it's kind of hanging there.
Yeah, I understand that too. But from your first answer, so often we're a lot more complicated than just one answer, like we're normally at a few answers. But from your first answer, peace, have you ever had that realization that in order to want something, you have to already feel it, so you have to already have that? Have you ever recognized that? Like in order to long for something, you must already know what you're longing for, otherwise you couldn't long for it.
Yes.
So in you right now, in order for you to come up with the answer peace, you must have found that somewhere in the experience, because otherwise you couldn't know that's what you were longing for. So inside of you, there is a tiny little dedicated area of peace. Can you feel that at all, or is it just totally abstract what I'm saying?
No, it's not abstract at all. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And there is that part, and of course I know it. It's like I always knew it. So when it comes, it's like where have you been? You know, like
yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
like
But
how long were you taking this coffee?
Yeah. But the way the mind works is what it does is it has this feeling of peace. But then it often projects that peace outside, so it thinks that I have the peace or the future has the peace. But in order to project it, it must inherently feel it. So you already have peace inside of you. But then, because it's projected that peace outside, which is so quickly happening, you have to you create inside of yourself a problem of why you don't have that peace and why you need to long for that peace. Basically, coming home is recognizing that peace inside you all the time. And that peace isn't a feeling. I'm talking about presence, because that's all anybody ever wants. And in order to want it, you already have it. And it's just remembering that everything you've ever wanted in every situation, every scenario is that presence. And that presence is already inherently in you. It just seems to be hiding underneath these projections. So what we do is we project the presence outside, and then we create inside a problem or a reason why we don't have that presence.
So the fact is that, because basically, of course, when at some point these projections are so strong, and then you almost feel how they kind of take you, and then at some point you just kind of let go. I mean, you don't really let go; it kind of happens. It's enough, and then
it's like a reconditioning that happens of the body-mind, and this part belongs to the body-mind, of that you're suffering, you're identified, and then some thought or something comes up and says this isn't true, and it breaks open, and then there is a collapsing back into that presence. Even if it's very small collapsing back in, it just breaks that pattern, and that seems to be the process that most people go through in waking up. Is they go through going into intense suffering, and then there is a seeing that's not true, it breaks, and then there is maybe a going into intense freedom, and then the suffering comes again, and it kind of goes in these waves. It's like, I remember one teacher once saying to me, freedom can't come all at once because it would be too much for the body to handle, like the body would just die. So it's almost like it goes through this pulsing sensation of going into intense contraction and then releasing from that again. But just see that, just recognize that. And then more and more as you go into that intense contraction, it will be seen this is just a flow of energy coming again, a flow of past suffering coming again. And it's not true. And it's not true that I'm always stuck in it. It's not true what my mind says to me. It's not true that it's never going to happen again. I'm never going to be free. All these fears that it come up with aren't true.
So they are absolutely not associated with any external stuff as well. Of course.
No, not at all. But the mind is used to doing that. So if you have something, say, someone treat you in a particular way, because in the past you've had a conditioning about that behavior that's seemingly external to you, so their behavior creates a certain conditioned response from you, and then the identity claims that. So say if somebody is rude to you, it brings up a pain, the identity claims that pain and then goes into lots of suffering about that pain, about how it's that person's fault, how they shouldn't treat you like this. And so it's nothing to do with the external really. It's just that what happens is in daily life is we have pleasurable responses to things and painful responses. It's just identification with pleasure and pain, the belief that pleasure is going to bring you more presence in the future, and that it's home, pleasure, and that pain isn't. And so we build up this identity that kind of creates loads of suffering every time you incorporate too much pain. It doesn't let it go. It keeps going on about why you shouldn't have it, why it's unfair, why it's the other person's fault, how you can avoid seeing them again, how they're going to do something bad to you. And when that happens, just drop into the feelings, just drop into the sensations and see that none of that's true. It's just old projections of that illusory self. There was pain in the first place, and the pain turned into a big story about avoiding the pain.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, with pleasure. Thank you for your honesty and openness, and nice to meet you for the first time on here.
Nice to meet you too, and thanks for taking the call.
Thanks. That's love. Bye. Hey Keith, that's brilliant in negative black teeth Coca-Cola death. Sounds fun to me. I had a very weird experience watching your last video. You were looking straight at us and for a long time and began to feel you could sense directly what I was thinking and feeling, and it wasn't even live. I think it suddenly increased my honesty with myself about what I'm actually thinking and feeling, which has stayed with me ever since. That's funny. That's sweet that happened. Because I think all of us would get more real if we imagined that other people can see inside of us. And they can. You know, it's cruel lying to people. You know, so say if you're in a relationship and you're thinking that the other person is ugly or something, and then they come up and they say they feel insecure about being ugly, it's cruel to lie to them. Like, it's cruel, even though that seems like a nice thing, it doesn't mean that they are ugly, but it's like you're playing with their minds, because we're all so sensitive, we can feel what other people are feeling. You can't get away with it. The internal and external, other people can feel what you're thinking. It doesn't mean that you have to be brutally honest, but just don't lie to people. It's cruel, lying to people. But we do it all the time as humans, because we're often not conscious about what we think or feel. But if you had that practice of imagining that everyone else can see what you're thinking, and just realize that what you think isn't bad, isn't wrong, it's a product of thousands and thousands of years conditioning, and it's in relationship to everything else that's around you. And you don't have to be like brutally honest. Like, I don't openly say what's thinking unless someone asks me. But if they do ask me, or if they come with an insecurity or something, I try my best not to lie about it to make them feel better. I try to be gentle. You know, if I was in that situation where I don't think I'd be having negative thoughts about people's ugliness or something, because my brain doesn't think like that anymore. But say if I was having thoughts about someone being ugly or something, and they came up and they said, I feel really insecure that you're thinking I'm ugly, then I might reply something like, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, my mind was going through comparison and judgment in order to feel superior. So I would take it all back on myself rather than saying, yes, no, you're beautiful, you're perfect, because that's not nice to do that. You're fucking with someone's mind doing that. That's really not a nice thing to do, even though you've been taught that's a nice thing to do. If they're a sensitive person, that's really fucking with them. That's like pretending they're mad. If they felt that and you were thinking it, then you've got to find a polite way of apologizing for judgments, but it's not really your fault, but you just say, yeah, my mind is being very judgmental at the moment, or I'm experiencing lots of judgments about myself and other people. So you just confess to it. But you don't have to be horrible, like, yeah, I had all these horrible thoughts about you. If they begin to ask, then you just say, I don't want to talk about this, I don't feel secure enough to talk about this, or I don't think it's right to talk about it now. But you certainly don't tell someone, no, I think you're beautiful, if you've not been having those thoughts, because that person has picked up on it. And how cruel is that, to make someone feel mad in order to not deal with the discomfort of that moment? How cruel is that to do that to someone? But we take that as a norm in our society. Really, the reason we do that, we say, oh no, you look beautiful, is just all about status and hierarchy. If you say all these nice things and pretend you're all sweetness and nice, it's about you having higher status. So, but it's unlikely. I don't seem to have those judgment thoughts anymore. I don't know if that's like an effect of the enlightenment, but I wouldn't. Maybe if someone was, I wouldn't think that they were bad, but I could have thoughts like some certain thoughts, but not thinking that that's a bad thing or that that's ugly, but I might do. I might do. I don't think I think that much anymore. I think an extent, but if I'm thinking, it's more like thinking about some creative work I'm doing or something, or what are, like practical things. Don't think I'd be wasting my energy thinking about how ugly or unugly someone is, but I might be. You never know. Lisa, that is an incredibly attractive face you're pulling. Thank you. So guys, there is so many questions and so many people that I didn't get to speak with. So hopefully I can speak with you on Wednesday. I will be streaming again on Wednesday. I think I'm streaming pretty much the whole of this month. And then I'm away in Spain for a little bit. But always check my website to find out when I'm streaming. But thank you so much for all your questions, your openness and your honesty. Yeah, and I shall see you Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Bye.